Hello and welcome to CSCI 211. My name is Corey Nance and I'll be your instructor this semester. I want to take a moment to familiarize you with the way that the course is laid out in Moodle as well as go over what's expected of you to be completed in the first week. At the very top of our Moodle course I have general links just related to the course. So hopefully by now you've read the welcome letter. The welcome letter was emailed out to everyone, but of course if you haven't seen that, please click this link and go through and read it. A tentative schedule is provided. So the tentative schedule lists the start of each week, the topics we'll be covering, and whatever deliverables will be due that week. Now typically the deliverables are due on Sunday night, with the exception of a couple being the midterm and the final exam. You'll notice that we are covering roughly 2 chapters a week. And that's due to the nature of half semester courses. So, as I stated in the welcome letter, please do realize that you'll be expected to put in twice the amount of effort that you do in a regular full semester class because we'll be covering all of the content in half the time. Additionally, I have some important dates listed down here at the bottom. So the last day to drop without an academic record, the last day to withdraw with a grade of W, and then the final exam date. Next is the course syllabus. Please make sure you take a moment to read through this very carefully. And if you have any questions, let me know. This is for CSCI 211, Computer Infrastructure. The section is S1, so Spring 1. There's no prerequisites for this course. My contact information is listed here. The best way to get a hold of me is probably by email. The next best way would probably be by Slack, and then lastly by telephone. Slack is something that I'm experimenting with in my online courses. We're going to be using Slack to facilitate just general discussion amongst the class as well as Q&A. So please feel free to join the Slack chat, and if anybody posts a question, anybody is welcome to answer. And of course I'll be monitoring as well and providing answers to questions also. My office hours are listed here. If these times do not work for you, I'm also available by appointment, so if you just reach out, we can work something out. There's a textbook required as Linux Essentials, the second edition. It should be available in the bookstore, and of course you can also maybe find it online a little bit cheaper if you'd rather go that route. There are technology requirements for the course, so I do expect for everyone to have a multi-core CPU with virtualization extensions. An example of that would be anything that's an Intel Core i3 or better. Also, you would need 4 gigabytes of RAM or more, as well as 60 gigabytes of free hard drive space. If you have any questions regarding if your desktop or laptop will meet the requirements for this course, please let me know and I'll work with you on that. Our final exam will be Thursday, February 23rd at 3:35 p.m. So the next part just walks through the course description. What we're going to be covering in this course is computer hardware, the relationship between the components of a computer system, software components, mainly focusing on the fundamentals of the computer operating system, as well as an introduction to virtualization systems. The course objectives are listed here. So upon successful completion of this course, you should be able to explain the operations of components in a computer system, select and specify components for a custom computer system matching a set of user requirements, install operating system environments and enable virtualization capabilities, identify common GNU tools to accomplish a given task. These course objectives map to student learning outcomes, which is something that we have to include for ABET accreditation. And you can see the matrix that maps these course objectives to the SLOs down here. I do reserve the right to make any changes to the syllabus. If I do so, I'll definitely notify you guys via email. And of course, this document will be updated in real time. It's a Google Doc, so any changes I make, you guys will see reflected immediately. For communication, again, email is probably the best way to get a hold of me. If you do email me, please be sure to include at least the course CSCI 211 in the subject line. Also be sure that when you email that you include proper salutations and spell check your message for any spelling or grammatical errors. If you do choose to call my office phone, please feel free to leave a voicemail with your name, course number, callback number, and a brief message. Any voicemails that get left are automatically forwarded to my email address, so you don't have to worry about if I'm not in the office, will I not hear your message, because I will be able to check that remotely via email. Grading for the course will be broken down as shown here. Discussions will count for 10%, exercises 15%, quizzes 25%, midterm 25%, and final exam 25%. So each chapter is going to have an exercise and a quiz associated with it. We'll have at least 2 discussions, 1 midterm, and 1 final. The grading scale is standard for the university. It's your 10-point grading scale, so 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, 70 to 79 is a C, and so on. There are B pluses, C pluses, and D pluses mixed in if you're in the upper range of those categories. For feedback, you can expect from me all assignments will be graded within 5 business days of the due date and returned to Moodle. Emails will be answered by the end of the next business day, so if you do not receive a response, please resend your email. So if you email on the weekend, there's a chance that I may not get back to you until Monday. So just keep that in mind. And if any of these response times need to change, if I have something going on, I'll definitely let you guys know ahead of time. Instructional activities are going to primarily be readings and lectures. Lectures will be delivered via YouTube videos. Assessments for the course will be in the form of our grading categories as we saw above, so discussions, exercises, quizzes, and then 2 exams. Due dates. So assignment due dates can be found in Moodle underneath the course calendar. They've all been populated in there. Unless stated otherwise, assignments are due by 11:59 p.m. Moodle server time of the due date. So Moodle server time is Eastern Standard Time for us. Late assignments will not be accepted, so it's your responsibility to submit any work prior to the due date. If you're having trouble with the course assignments, please contact me early and come in and get help. We do have a tutoring center available in room CSCC 209. So you can possibly get some help there as well as during office hours or if you make an appointment with me. With this being an online course, an absence is operationally defined as a missed online submission deadline such as a quiz, assignment, or discussion post. If you miss over 25% of the class, it's university policy that a grade of F may be assigned. So please keep that in mind. Make sure that you are on top of your assignments and submitting them on time. For this first week, I have to report absences, and you need to submit at least one of the assignments so that I know that you've attended the class. If not, you'll be reported as non-attending and subsequently dropped from the course. Classroom Code of Conduct, this goes hand in hand with the online Code of Conduct, and it basically boils down to everyone just needs to treat everyone with respect. So if we're having a discussion online in Slack or in a discussion forum in Moodle, please make sure that you're treating each other respectfully. So academic integrity, all work in this class is expected to be completed individually unless stated otherwise. You can find CCU's rules of academic integrity in the Code of Student Conduct. So that has the rights and responsibilities of students attending the university listed out in them. When it comes to cheating, if I catch anybody cheating or plagiarizing, then the result will be a grade of FX in the course and will be referred to the university's academic integrity officer. Listed below I have some examples of what would constitute cheating or plagiarism. It's not an exhaustive list, but it would give you a good idea of what that would be. If anybody has a disability, please make sure that you get into our Office of Accessibility and Disability Services and get that documented with them. What they'll do is they'll give you a form that you can then get to me, and at that point I can start making accommodations based upon what's laid out in that form. Until then, I can't make any accommodations for anyone based upon a disability. Lastly, here in the syllabus are just some general links to different services provided by the university. Distance learning support services. If you're having any technical issues, please feel free to visit Student Computing Services or contact their help desk. Financial aid, the Dean of Students Office, accessibility and disability services is listed in here, the registrar, and the Office of Academic Integrity. So if you have any questions about those, please let me know. So that wraps up our syllabus. So coming back, here is the Slack chat. Let's take a look at what Slack looks like. This is the desktop client. The desktop client is almost identical to the web client. So you do not have to install any applications to use Slack. You can definitely use it right through your browser. Off to the side, there's different channels based upon, I create them for the different classes. So there'll be one for our class, CSCI 211, S1, S17. And you'll click on that. And then in here you can type your messages. You can also drag and drop files into here as well as screenshots to maybe add some extra content to your question or explanation of how to do something. So please feel free to use this. This does work out really well. I've had some good success with it in past classes, and I think you guys will appreciate the discussion, especially in an online environment. So that brings us to our first module, week 1. We're going to be going over getting started. So what I want you to do is obviously watch the video that you're watching right now. There are also another video I'd like for you to watch, the SI and IEC unit lecture. This is a lecture by Dr. Murphy, another professor in our department, and it deals with just SI and IEC prefixes. So we're going to be coming across those IEC prefixes in the book as we're reading. And the book also goes over talking about it, but I think his lecture video does a good job of describing what they are. So the slides that are used in that video are provided down here. Once you complete that, go ahead and complete an SI quiz and an IEC quiz. The next thing that I want us to do this week is to set up VirtualBox. So VirtualBox is how we're going to be accessing our virtual machines, which we'll be using 2 different flavors of Linux. We'll be using Ubuntu and Fedora. So we'll set up 2 different virtual machines. And I've got a setup video here. I've also got some slides dealing with virtualization and some setup instructions down here as well. Lastly, I want for you guys to complete the class introductions discussion. So this has you introduce yourself to the class. At a minimum, you'll include the following in your post: your name, major, where you're from, and what you hope to learn in the course. Each of these will be worth 25% of your total grade for the assignment, so there's 4 topics to discuss. That'll give you 100% on the assignment. Moving to the next module, this is a typical layout for each week. At the top of a module, we'll have our learning outcomes. So what do we expect to learn in this chapter? This particular chapter is a little bit different because I do go back and cover some of the chapter 1 material just as an icebreaker to get you into the book and familiar with terminology in Linux and operating systems. And then we jump right on into chapter 5, dealing with managing hardware. Each week, as I said, we'll have an exercise and a quiz. This week does have an additional lab component where you will be taking a specification from a user and putting together a PC build. So lastly, I just want to show you the course calendar. If we click on the calendar and jump back to where this class is, so January, you'll see that everything is due on Sunday nights, with the exception of a few things like the midterm and the final exam. So it should be fairly predictable. I don't try to throw anything out of the norm out there or on a different type of due date, just so that every week you know what to expect. So every week we'll have the exercises for the two chapters we're covering, as well as the quizzes for the two chapters we're covering. And then some weeks we'll have an additional assignment like the PC Build Lab or these IEC and SI prefix quizzes. Alright, so you guys can use this calendar to keep up with the due dates. Also, down here at the bottom, just wanted to point out that you can export the calendar. You can also export it to an iCal, which you can import this into something like Outlook or Google Calendar to make it easier for you to keep up with when assignments are due. So that wraps up what I wanted to talk about in the video. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.